friendly usher handed out a survey for you when you came in. You notice it says, I would like to hear the following individual or individuals on Sunday evening. The second question, I would like to hear the following subjects on Sunday evening. The third one, here's my suggestion for Sunday evening, whatever that may be. I've been putting together, I planned this quarter for the year. And so your suggestions would be very helpful. If there's something you'd like to hear or be involved with or whatever, please fill this out. I'll be in the back to take them up. So I really like you to fill them out tonight.
Well, we're not going to listen to them. I'm just going to fill out forms.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, delay. Sorry, boys. Oh, y'all made the announcement? Okay.
Mike is finally here. So I'm going to give him a minute to catch his breath.
Thank you.
He might need some water, I don't know. But we've already, spent 15 minutes talking amongst ourselves.
All right.
So it's your little.
Well,
Just remember the good thing is we won't know if you mess up.
that's true. I just had a lot of computer glitches and couldn't get them worked out until 5:30. And I wished I had started earlier on it. But anyway, is this frame here? We're not going to open this up. Is this in the way of the view? Can y'all see okay? Okay. Well, tonight we're going to look at the site that I went to in Turkey a couple of August ago, and a site I've been looking at since '91. So I'm going to hit you with a hose pipe and what I have digested and then visited since looking at all this stuff since '91. I'm hitting you with one blast all at one time. So this will be overload. This will be information overload. And you probably won't believe it, but that's okay. Hang on to the very end. Hang on right to the end. If you're struggling with this as being a plausible site, just wait till a couple of subsurface radar pictures right at the end. I think you'll find pretty fascinating. This is Mount Ararat proper. I don't think that's where it would have landed. It said it landed in the mountains of Ararat. So that's the postcard picture that everybody loves. It's just fantastic. And a lot of young people do hike up it. It's not like Everest, so you can get up there in a day and a half or so. I didn't find out how long it would take me, but a lot of kids, a lot of young people, that's their adventure to do that. This is what we want to find. A partially thawed boat that's just in spectacular, pristine condition. Maybe says, SS Noah on the side of it. That's what we would like. Or this one. This got popular back in the 60s and 70s, and some so-called guy said he was a little kid. His uncle took him up in there, and they saw this partially thawed boat, but it's been covered back up since by glacier and ice. That's what we would like to find. That's not what I'll be presenting tonight. If this is the site, it's a shipwreck. It's the remains. It's the lava-covered remains of the boat, okay? So that's what we'd like to find, something like where it's sticking out like that, and then you do a zoom up, and that would pretty much convince everybody, unfortunately. And this is a picture the kid had drawn when he became an adult. That's him hanging onto the steps there at the bottom, I think. So it is a fantastic location, and a lot of people do go up there and get their pic made and celebrate that. So this is Mount Ararat proper. It's a very mountainous area, and you can see it's in a very volatile part of the world. You got Iraq, Turkey, Iran, just all these places where you probably don't want to go on a church retreat, but we went. Okay, now back in the late 50s, maybe I guess that's since 1960, there was a Turkish pilot that flew over, took some pictures, and a group did go up there and survey the area, and they declared it a natural phenomenon. Okay, now you see it there, kind of flat with the land. It is strange looking. Okay, there it is. It is boat shaped. That's the picture in 61. Okay, you see it's in kind of a bed of lava flow there. Here's some more recent pics right there. Okay. Now, see how it's flat with the ground? Now, what's going to happen is this guy's going to go up there, Ron Wyatt, and Ron is someone that I got to know through him coming to Ezel Harding and doing some presentations for us on archaeology. A lot of people dismiss him as trash archaeology because he's not a professional. He's made some incredible claims. Some of them are too fantastic for some people. But I want you to take a look at this anyway. And he garnered a lot of attention to this site. He's a very strong believer in the Bible. He was a Seventh-day Adventist, so he would disagree with us on some doctrinal issues. He does believe in baptism for remission of sins. But the Sabbath day, that we would have a little bit of difference of view with him. Now, look at this. An earthquake hit, and look how the dirt just fell off of it. Okay, that's the way it was. And then 78, earthquake hits, and it just pops out of the ground. Okay, that doesn't prove it's a boat at all, but it's not original part of the soil there. Okay.
Actually have found is physical evidence that this is a boat. My personal feeling is that it is Noah's Ark.
So, my first son was born in '85, and for some reason I remembered he was the nurse anesthesiologist. I didn't know him at all, and so he was the nurse anesthesiologist. And so my second son comes along in '88. And I don't even know how I remembered to ask Lisa, is Mr. Wyatt going to be your anesthesiologist? It was good if I could remember her doctor or what day we're going down to the hospital, for the C-section. I can't remember. I can't believe I remember that. I just remember this very distinct voice, and he was pushing Lisa in the rolling beds. What are those called? Gurneys or whatever they're called. And we made a couple of jokes, and he had that very distinct man voice. And so 88 comes along, and I said, is Mr. White? I actually thought his name was White. I thought it was Ron White, which is a different Ron. It's just a couple of bottles difference there, I think. So Ron Wyatt, but I actually said Mr. White, and she said, no, my doctor says he's off looking for Noah's Ark or something. And I went, what kind of crackpot they got working down here at Madison Hospital that we're letting fool with our pregnancy and birth here? So then he gets invited out to Ezel Harding to speak, and I start seeing some of this stuff, and I just love archaeology, and I'm going, man, this is something I need to take a look at, because so many people look at him, I just don't do that. That doesn't mean I'm deeper than anybody else. I like to read about the claims. Sometimes stuff is claimed and it's stupid and I dismiss it, but I just kept staring at this. And so Brad's born in '88, and I remember I was going up the steps to my house, and the TV was on, and it was on one of these channels that he was talking, and I hear this very...
Actually have found is physical evidence.
And I look around the corner, and he's making this little, and I went, he is looking for Noah's Ark. And so that's when after that, I kind of got to know him. That's a small model that he let my dad borrow for 9 months for Dad to make this. So I owe him a lot. That thing's pretty valuable right there. That one's about this long, so he could carry it around for presentations. This one is a little bit more difficult to haul, but Daddy decided to go with a bigger look so he could get more detail to it. And that's the one he could carry around. And then he made another one that was bigger than this one, and he floated it. So here we are going down the highway past, it's just breathtaking, it's beautiful. And the site we're going to go to is a few miles on the other side of the city. And it's part of the mountain range of Ararat. The Bible says the ark landed in the mountains. It does not say the mountain of Ararat. So it's kind of like the Smoky Mountains. You don't think of one main Smoky, you think of the whole range, and that's where we're going. It is breathtaking, though.
Traffic jam is here.
What are we going to do? This is
how are we going to get out?
This is the little town.
You're going to drive on
It's
cars.
like the Old West. It's
He's
so
going to drive
small.
on the cars and the sidewalk.
sidewalk.
We're up on the sidewalk now.
And nobody cares. So it's kind of like being in the Wild West down there with some modern conveniences. It was a bizarre town. And so there's a smaller Ararat over there, and that's in the middle of the winter. Okay, now we're going to be right here. So all of this is Ararat, and it is vast. It just goes on and on. It was worth the whole trip for me just to find out what the mountains of Ararat were. That made the whole trip worth it, and there was a whole lot more to it than that. But just seeing how vast it was, and it was so vast that I told the guys with me, I said, you know, if Noah's Ark was laying out there somewhere in those mountains, just perfect condition, you could search your whole life on foot and not find it. Spent the rest of your life, obviously you could find it if you did a flyover, but it's just that vast. And so that's the main Ararat, and we're going to be over here, right there, okay? Okay. So here it is in the text where it says, in the 7th month, it rested on the plural of Ararat. Okay.
Probably 4.5 miles.
Now, this is part of
from
the mountains. We
this
drove
is
for
part
2
of
hours,
the
and this is
incredible
all we
mountain
saw.
range that's part of the mountains.
It just went on and on.
Too.
It's spectacular. And, you know, if I'd left the camera on, it'd been 2 hours. We just kept driving and seeing this and seeing some shepherds, some little villages. We went on a pretty nice day. That was a pretty nice drive through that. And so a spectacular view up there.
As we pan around from Mount Ararat, we see that there are mountains all the way around. The Bible says the ark landed in the mountains of Ararat, or Uratu. As you see, it wraps all the way around us, and the site we're headed to is up in there somewhere. But the mountains literally go around
I was
us.
standing in the interstate. That was kind of stupid there that you heard the car going by. Okay, now we did a little geography trip, and we're not up there yet. There's some cool things that we saw, some fossils here. This is a sand dollar, is that right, Andrew?
Yes,
We
fossilized
found this below the site. There's Mount Ararat proper. Our site is over that ridge somewhere, and there's a lot of fossils, marine life all over this area. Pretty cool. So there's stuff, marine fossils, you know, all over the place, around the world, obviously, because the the earth was underwater at one time. But it was cool seeing all these up there.
Pan back from Mount Ararat proper, continuing our look for more sea life. We can see several
And those
incredible
sand dollars were just all over the place.
sand dollars right here.
Pretty cool there. There's a live one, just so you'll see what they look like. And there's the fossilized one with my dirty fingernails. And I took this little seashell picture with Mount Ararat in the background. That's just some professional photography right there. Gary, is that impressive right there? You get nothing like that. I'm just pretty good at that stuff. Okay. So this is the site, okay? And it's in part of a mud flow, okay? And it's believed that the ark came to rest up the ridge higher, and a volcano mountain just blew apart, and the lava pushed it down the hill, okay? And it was on up further, and of course the bottom of it, was real muddy when everything ended, and it just attached to it, and it's believed it just got ripped where the left part of the bottom there, and it pushed it down the mountain, okay? Like this, and then it hit a rock, turned some, and the lava poured over it, encapsulating it, snuffing all the air out, and then over time, erosion shows the shale. So just imagine what you would look like if lava poured over you real quickly before it burnt all of your body. It burnt the outer skin and then snuffed it out. And so you're just a big pile of rock, and then over time it erodes away, and we see a part of your bodily form. So that's kind of what you're looking at here, if that makes sense. Okay. That T is for Turkey. That's where we were. Very popular university up there. Just happens to be orange. There's a funny story about the orange hat in a second with a little boy that his daddy took us up there. It matches with the biblical account if you use the Egyptian cubit. If you use the Jewish cubit, it's 450. If you use the Egyptian cubit, it comes out to about 512, 513, something like that. So it's right at those dimensions there.
What's believed happened is this formation was formed when Noah's Ark landed somewhere up on this ridge. Then a volcanic mountain exploded, pushing the ark with mud and volcanic debris down the slope, and then it impaled on that rock, twisted around. The lava, dirt, mud pours over it. It then preserves it and has slowly weathered away back to seeing just an outward form or skeletal remains of Noah's Ark. When we pan all the way around, we see the incredible Mount Ararat proper. But the Bible says the ark landed in the mountains of Ararat.
So you can see how vast all the mountains were.
Rocky is in class.
So I think I'm getting ready to run up on it, I think. I thought that was it. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm getting ready to. Because we found when I first touched it, I was kind of excited. It was kind of an emotional, sentimental moment. Okay, there's the rock that it hit. It's sloped down, and this is the lower end, so it's on a real steep incline. And it's a weird formation. It's unusual looking. And there's a little bit of the, oh yeah, that's when he had a drone with us. That was pretty cool. Okay. To the right of that dip there is where they believe a mountain exploded. Is that right, Andrew?
That's correct.
And then it was believed the mud flow
Came down this valley here,
okay, and
all
came
the
up.
way to where we're at the pointed end of Noah's Ark right here.
Hopefully going to be touching Noah's Ark for the first time in my life.
There he is. He's on
With my
the top
buddy here.
of Noah's Ark, the pointed end with Muhammad.
Can you keep walking up and showing it? So you can't hardly hear. The wind was
Yes,
so strong up
heavy.
there.
The boat is right below us.
So it's going way
It's
down.
nice and
Yeah,
close.
it's steep way down.
And we're looking at Mount Ararat just north of us.
You have to remember, we're looking at a shipwreck. So that was kind of an exciting moment for me. I don't expect you to get too excited.
Here we have as we come up the road.
So this is the view as we
When we
came up the
first
road,
saw
seeing
it.
it for the first time right there. We stopped.
Pretty
So
spectacular.
that should have been earlier. That video's a little bit out of order. Now, lava doesn't burn everything in its path. You can see here it's going through the woods. It burns some stuff initially, pours over everything, and so that's the thought here. It's just like when Mount Vesuvius blew up, and I'm going there in March. If anybody wants to go to Italy, we might could get you in if you see me tonight. I might could get you in if you want to go to Rome and Venice and Venus and Mars. It's really way out. Just like it left a shell of these people. So that's kind of what we're looking at a little bit here, okay? Now, this is the Egyptian royal cubit they found in Tut's tomb, so that's the 20.6 that we talked about. If you hadn't been to Kentucky, that'll give you a great idea of it. They did a super job with that. That basically is the dimensions of it. You're seeing it right there. That's what the thing would have looked like dimension-wise. Who knows what it looked like as far as in reality. And so Ron did some subsurface radar up there. Everywhere the ribbons are, there's some type of reading that's not natural. And what was really cool in this is they had a really weird look on the, I'll show you about the wood here in a second. Here's what they said at Galbraith Labs. This is not a natural object. The reflections are occurring too periodically to be random interfacing. So what they have here, the gray part is what's there now, and then Ron has had the artist draw in what the ark may have looked like. That's why this is like this, is because of what they think it resulted in from the subsurface radar, okay? And they saw this real weird thing right there, and they went over and dug it up. It was right there, and it's that fossilized timber I showed y'all a few weeks ago when we first started, the first night. And that's at Ron's wife's home, his surviving wife's home. And they cut a corner out of it. This is a little bit of review, but if you weren't here, it's some type of plank, and it's got 3 layers there. And of course, Ron thinks that gophering wood means laminated wood. Looks like glue oozing right here. I don't know if that's what that is, but I remember thinking, did Shamham or Japheth or Noah push this together? It again gives me some subjective goosebumps. Not objective, because I don't know, but subjective goosebumps. And they had another metal detector, and they found these all over the place. I'm holding this over at his wife's house, and these were all over the place. I mean, they're all over the place. And so what you're looking at is that right there, okay? Like a big washer. Those were everywhere. Those were all over the boat. They're just everywhere. We saw a lot of them there, but we couldn't dig them up or we'd start World War III. And when I travel, I try not to start wars. That's just my personal stance. Okay, yeah, here's the 3 of us. It's, me and a friend. Any of y'all know Miles Cotham? None of y'all know Miles Cotham, do you? Okay. He went, and this lady from California was with us. So we didn't know her. She just signed up for the trip when we did. I always like watching this. I love the music to it. I didn't come up with the music. I don't know why my picture's not clear. These normally look a little bit better than that. This is just to give you an idea of the vastness of it, how big this thing is. It's pretty steep downgrade there because it was going down the mountainside. And again, I don't think it's a natural object. So they think that's the front of it, and all the timbers, everything's collapsed. What they want to do, they have had some cooperation with Turkish archaeologists. They actually did a TV special on it last September, and they're hoping one day to blow a hole in the side of it, but that's going to take a lot of cooperation with the authorities over there. Then if they could go in and maybe they could tell there's rooms, compartments in there. The problem is, you know, if all that's collapsed, then it's just going to look like a big chunk of rock. So that would be cool, though, if they could. But yeah. Yes, please.
When you're there, are you on private property, or is that
It's
national park? Or
yeah, they have turned it into a national park. They've made the road nice to get up there to it. There's a sign they put out front. And I'm going to show you the tourist center that's gone into disarray. But now I'm sure the government wants to call it that so they can make money. Hey, we got Noah's Ark here. But it's still neat that they have gone along with Ron's find. And so the government did a permit on this. And so it's the state's property now. Great question.
it's fairly well known, this place where you're at.
Yes.
Over there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And the sign, there's a sign out there that says Noah in Turkish, Noah's Ark, that, you know, and it goes up that side road that we took. But there's these protrusions, and they're just real regular, and it just and I think it's part of some of the deck support timbers that are poking through, and and I remember seeing it. It's just that can't be natural. They're spaced too evenly there. So the current formation is wider than Noah's Ark because it has splayed open. That's what a sunken ship does. It falls open. But if you figure the degree of slope, it comes right out pretty close to what the Bible talks about. Just like this old Viking ship, when they found it splopped, and look when they restored it, look. Okay, so see, it just fell apart like that, and then they put it back together, and that's kind of what's happened here. And like these ridge timbers here, boom, 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 boom. He thinks that's what these are all here, and they're just regular. I know if somebody wasn't pointing that out to you, you wouldn't think about it. You just think that's just a natural formation. But when you put two and two and two and two and two together, I think it's a good possibility. This is it. And those things just run regular patterns all the way down it. And you see them. And he thinks those are the ridge timbers that were all the way down the ark.
Roughly how long has this site been established as a brothel? Surely this isn't within the last 20 years.
In 78, he went up there, I think when the earthquake hit, 78, 85 is when the government built the tourist center. And I'm hoping I'll have a picture of that. When they dedicate the site, they slit a goat's throat to spill the blood on the site. I have a video of it. I don't know if you want. Y'all probably can't take that. You got to be pretty tough to watch that. The 1960 shot, the earthquake had not occurred yet, so the sides were not exposed.
But it's the same.
It's the same place, yeah, and that's why it's so incredible. That earthquake is what gave them the free opportunity with no construction and excavation to look all the way down the side. The earthquake provided what they needed, and it just fell off of it. And you can look at 1 million photos of before and after. There's nothing that's been touched up. That you saw the one from 1960, and then we're showing you the ones from since then. Good questions, though. Y'all keep them coming. If I don't just holler them out. Okay. Now, Ron did blow a hole down at the bottom of it, 6 inches around, and pulled out. They went and they had them, determine what it was. There was some cat's hair and the end of an antler. That's the part that's down in the head. and then this. Any of you country boys able to tell what that is? I wish I could show it to you more clear. Huh? You know what it is? What do you think? If you're a country boy, you might know this. If you could see it in person, you would know. It's poop. It's fossilized. I wish you could see it in person. He let me take this to school, and I took it over to my dad's house. I didn't tell my dad what this supposedly was. I handed it to him. He's a country boy, grew up on the farm. I said, Daddy, what does that look like to this? He went, it's doo-doo. Just immediately. There was a kid at my school that he likes a lot of this stuff, but I didn't tell him where he got it from. He was in my youth group. I said, Daniel, what does that look like to you? And he said, that's animal poop. So I think any of you country kids could probably spot it if we had it. When I passed it around at school in classes, now they won't let me take stuff anymore, but they did in the early days. You see a kid, they'd pass it around, you'd always see a kid go, smell like it's going to have a smell after 4,600 years. I always enjoy seeing that, though. So down in the plateau, there is a village there. It's called the Village of Eight. It's been called that for centuries. Wonder why they called it the Village of Eight. And this is pretty cool, too. Down there, it's a third world type village. And they found several of these stones that Ron believes are anchor stones that hang off like this. And I was hoping I had brought some of those. Let me see if they're back here. Yeah, got a couple of them that we have these for decor that Dad made some little extensions here for them to hang off. And these would be for balance because the ark's going to be getting hit by tidal waves. And these would help in the balance of it. And all over the Mediterranean Sea, you see small ones like this big. They're all over the place. They used those in ancient times for ancient ships. And obviously, if you got a boat this size, you're going to need one a lot bigger. And so most of these were 12 and 13 foot tall. The ones that are all over the coast of Israel are, a little over a yard tall. This was one from Egypt they found. Look at that. And it had carvings and engravings on it.
To be anchor stones. You may believe Christians carved these centuries later.
Now, why there are crosses on there? Because Armenian Christians came through this area and they believed this was a special site connected with Noah's Ark. So obviously the crosses weren't on there during Noah's time because there wasn't crosses. But these Christian Armenians put them on there, and some of them have 8. You see like a big one, a smaller one, and then like 3 for the sons, 3 for the sons' wives. It's kind of cool. And so these were fantastic.
Anchor stones.
Gary, we're going to see some more photography here in a minute. Hang on.
Carved these centuries later, commemorating this place. Many of them have 8 crosses on them. And you can see.
Look at that. I went in there and found
Mount Ararat proper in
Mount
the
Ararat.
distance.
Look at that. That's professional stuff right there. And here's some examples of others. See, it's just, these are pretty cool. That was fun to go down there and check those out. Because it's going to be getting hit by some major waves. And these would help drag the ark and slow it down so it's not so busy in the water. Yeah, those are beautiful there. Look at that. And you know how you do the little sketching on it where you can, with that little charcoal, that's what we're doing there. So that was kind of neat.
But some of them are different styles. Of course, these were put by later. Yeah, Armenian Christians believe. Armenian Christians.
Okay. And on one of them, look right here, it looks like a tower. So some people thought, did some of the Armenian Christians come through here and carve the Tower of Babel on there too? You see it? Can you tell it? Okay. This This is a later radar scan, okay? So one of the guys that is kind of Ron's protege, I guess you could say, they did another type of subsurface radar where the other stuff is you scan it on top. They take these cables, just kind of like jumper cables for your car, and they hammer them down into the ground, and they run them all over the place, okay? And what you're going to be looking at, it's like the radar is able to go down and bounce it up, so you're going to be looking up from here, okay? Now, you see the hole here. Look at this. That's what the radar shows. I don't know about y'all, that looks like a hole to me. Am I not seeing that right? Why? How could the underground be shaped like that if this wasn't a shipwreck? When I saw this, I kind of went all in. I've always wondered, since 91, I go, I'm 75% sure, 65. Then I go to about 85.3% sure. And then after they did this, I went to 99.9. I have to leave myself a little leeway in case they prove it's not. I can go, well, I knew it probably wasn't. I got to leave myself a little bit. I really do think it's it, but I got to leave myself a little out psychologically. I got to do that. Here's when they put it in a different color. And there's a lot of stuff destroyed around it. But that was a clincher for me. I just thought that's pretty cool. So they're hoping to get more evidence in the future. The young man that took us on the tour, he's about 50, I guess. He lives over there. He takes groups on these tours, and I went with him here and also to Mount Ararat. That's another cool thing y'all might want us to do sometime. Seems like I spend a lot of Sunday nights at Tusculum, so I guess we can do that sometime also. Now, this guy here, he passed away a few years ago. He is considered the father of Turkish archaeology. He is an atheist, but he is an expert on archaeology. He's been up there. This is incredible what he says, because he doesn't have any vested interest. Like, we want it to be Noah's Ark because that's in the Bible. We want that so bad. He doesn't care about Noah's Ark. Here's what he says about the site. This is him. It is a ship, an ancient ship, and it must be preserved. He's the dude of archaeology over there. And his testimony is better than any Christian's, isn't it? Because he doesn't have a stake in it. He doesn't give a flip about Noah or the Bible. But he said, this is an ancient ship and we need to preserve it. Again, that doesn't prove it, but it's just some neat testimony from a guy that doesn't care about it. Of course, what you would hope, and this was Ron's desire and all this stuff that because there's a lot of other discoveries that are a lot of fun for us to look at, but it's like, why wouldn't somebody like him go, there's a boat 7,000 foot in the mountains in an area that the Bible records. Maybe we should check that out and look at the Bible with that. But not everybody does that. So back to your question on the tourism and all that, they did open that up. It's going to be operational pretty soon. This is 1985 when they did the. This must have been right after my son was born. Then he went over. I had no idea, who this guy was, because this is 85, and so I guess he had just knocked Lisa out for the birth and then flew over and dedicated Noah's Ark site. Here's the goat getting torn up right here. But I won't show you live action of that. You see him right there? It's pretty gruesome. So it has gone into some disrepair here. They're fixing it up now. It looks a lot nicer. Thought that was kind of cool. And that's his wife. She has remarried, and her new husband is Ron Wyatt Jr. He is into all of this stuff. In fact, they're going to Saudi Arabia, where I was a couple of winters ago, and they asked me to go back, and I'm not going to be able to. I wished I could. Okay. Up there where they think that eventually, or originally landed, they found some ballast. What's ballast? Anybody know what ballast is? Did y'all miss that day in science? It's weight for the bottom of the boat to keep it kind of like the anchor stones, okay? And that was a chunk of it they found up there. So we went up there where it was, so the site is kind of over the ridge there, so we're way on up further.
Theory that Ron
go.
has from ballast he found in this area we haven't been able to find, that the ark may have rested somewhere in.
Now, you see that right there? That is an Iraqi tower, because we're right on the border. And when I was, right after I did this, when I was panning around again, and I heard a guy scream down, "No pictures!" And I went, "Phew." And so I thought, we're going to get shot up here and they'll never find us. You know, nobody's going to check on us, you know. So we were able to do some of this stuff, and then he hollered down, and that ended some of our video. And he didn't care if we shot stuff away. But that's how closely all this, the political, you know, tension, it's all right centered in this area here.
One theory that Ron has from ballast he found in this area we haven't been able to find, that the ark may have rested somewhere in this kind of cove, and then got pushed down the hill from volcano. Once again, right in the distance.
Okay. Yeah, there's the tower up there.
We've been scanning the ground here, and I think we found
The wind is real
right below the
heavy,
surface
but
somewhere in this
we're
area.
looking for, you know, other stuff.
We're in this area.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh my goodness! Look,
This was weird.
look at this!
That was weird.
Look at this! This is
It was just
confirmation
crazy
I've
that it
always
was there.
wanted, that Noah told for them.
Wow, we could probably carbon date
Can y'all carbon date these?
Yes.
Sorry, you can't hear the commentary.
This shows everywhere you go, it's Rocky time.
And I gave the cap to that kid. He thought it was a temporary gift. He couldn't speak English. My Turkish isn't real good either. And so he thought it was just temporary. He wore that thing all day long, and then at the end, he gave it back to me, and I said, "No, it's yours." It was like he had received some $500 gift, but I tried to get them to say, "Go Big Orange," okay? Took a while. This is the best we could get.
Go Big Orange!
Orange.
Yes, orange.
Orange. They could not. They got the go big, and it was just orange. You know, I would go orange, orange. So I got pretty rough with them before it left. You know. But they were just sweet kids. They probably had no idea of how significant we think this place is, this site. They're just their daddy's making some money, taking us up there in this tractor. It's like a real uncomfortable hayride up there. And so he was so proud of that Tennessee hat. So
Incredible.
This is a little closing comment I make at the end. I documented all this stuff, sent it back on Facebook. And so this is kind of my sign off here.
It's been an incredible trip, but I've made it with a heavy heart, because if Lisa were still alive, I would not have been able to afford to make it. So even though it's been awesome, I would rather have her than the trip. But I know that she would want me to do something like this, but she's the one that made this possible.
So Lisa left me a lot of insurance money, so I do these trips with it. And that's kind of what I do, kind of gives me a neat thing to do. I've been wanting to go these places my whole life. I never expected to go, and I would have never dreamed that her death would result in me going on. So when I'm on these trips, and a couple of years ago I went to Saudi Arabia and Jordan, Egypt, and that was out in the Saudi desert. Drove it 2-3 hours out there where Mount Sinai is. And I love the trips, but the whole time I'm going, it's because she's dead. I'm on these trips because she's dead. So it's a very bittersweet. It's incredibly bittersweet the whole time. because every moment I'm over there, I'm reminded I'm only over here because she left all that money for me. So anyway, kind of already seen that, haven't we? That was a fantastic shot there. This was one of the early pictures Ron did, so I did my own little version of it there. So I have that picture at home. All right, McPherson, what if they prove this isn't a ship? I do not regret 1 second of time I've spent investigating this stuff because I've learned so much. Like I said, it was worth going to see the mountains of Ararat. So we don't have to have confirmation. We walk by faith, not by sight. We walk by faith, not by archaeology. Archaeology does not prove the Bible. It can give some confirmation of it, and I think it has done that for things, but it's not going to destroy my faith. I'll just go, shucks, if they prove this isn't. I don't think you can prove it's not. I don't think you can prove it is, but it's kind of like when we talk about God to atheists, we can't prove there's a God. They can't prove there's not a God. You can't. All we can each give is evidence, and I think we have more evidence than they do. Young man here on the front row.
I think it's interesting, that earthquake. That just, to me, that's almost like God saying, okay, I'm going to give you a little hint.
That's what Ron took it as.
I mean, it's like, you guys, I know you're going crazy. You're trying to do the live by faith, not by sight thing, but you're kind of not doing it anyway most of the time. So I feel like I got to give you a tidbit.
Ron feels that's what it was, that he had prayed for something to happen, and then boom, that happens, and it pops out of the ground. I don't mean it literally went like that, but when the dirt fell off of it, boom, voila, and you can see it.
The question I had was, do you think Lisa would be okay with that hat?
That is a beautiful, it's not quite Indiana Jones, it's a leather hat, but it was pretty costly. I did not give the little Turkish kid that one. He got the cheap Tennessee cap. Any other questions? Any others? These are great questions, by the way. But it's a fun presentation, and you don't have to believe it to go to heaven. It's just makes you think about some things. Yeah.
Like when they took the chunk of wood and some of the fossil stuff, have they been able to like scientifically kind of match the dates or get close to
that's a great question. I hadn't thought about that. I will ask his wife if they've done any type of carbon dating. But sometimes carbon dating cannot be reliable. But I'll see if they have.
But then, I mean, heck, even if they got just decent.
A couple of thousand years, yeah.
It would say, okay,
Yeah.
this.
Definitely. That's a great question. I've got some other things. There's always something my class will come up with like y'all that I need to call her up and ask her stuff. So that's a good question. What else? Anything else? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So circling back to something I was asking a while ago.
Yeah.
I suspect this has been suspected as a site for a long time.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad you said that because I forgot. That wasn't my last slide because I'm going to come back to what you're asking. The hill, if this is the site, people went there and probably picked the ark apart. Maybe they lived up there for a while. I mean, that's pretty far up, and you don't have a lot of crops yet. You don't have a house, so maybe they stayed in there. It's like a big barn for a while. So that's just kind of fun to think about. And but I can imagine visitors coming from all over that are pilgrims to that spot until it, got washed down the hill. And the other thing that ties in with what you just asked or said, those anchor stones are in a village called the Village of Eight, and Armenian Christians came through there and said, this is a special spot, and we're putting 8 crosses on these stones. So, there had to be a lot of interest way back. But as far as recent times, as far as English-speaking civilized people, not till 1960 when they flew over. I don't know of any interest on that prior. except for the Byzantines in the 400s, or the Armenians rather, I'm sorry. Good thought though, it's an excellent thought.
Do you know if there are any other similar, you mentioned how large this region of Ararat is. Are there any other prospective sites that are, and this is the main one, but possibly some people think it might be.
The only other places that have been checked out is Mount Ararat itself. And I don't think the Ark could have survived the storms and all up there and that glacier. And think about this too, when you look at, I wished I had, could we hit the first slide, go back to the first slide? I'm sorry, you could hit one and then enter and it would have done it, or that way too. That'll work good, yeah. Imagine coming down that hill with all those mountains. I mean, with all those animals down that mountain. It'd be pretty rough. But the location that we were at is 7,000 foot, and it was relatively, you could walk the terrain pretty easily. It was steep, but not like that, and not like that. So that's the only other place in that area that I know of that's been checked out in what's called the Dupruner site, because the Turkish captain, I think, was named Dupruner. So you don't have to go back. That's good. You're good. Just leave. Throw that one up there. Let's look at that one. On number 1. The first one, sorry. Any others? If not, we're getting out 4 minutes early.
Making it an archaeological dig?
Yeah, the guy that I went with, the guy that you saw him that we were pretending to find the Tennessee Cap, he has a home there. He's living there. And the local Turkish archaeological people have worked with him. They did a special that they showed over there. I'm hoping we can get a copy to show it here. Of course, it'll all be in Turkish. But they're keen on it. They're not dismissing it as a normal, just an anomaly at all. And his hope is that one day we can do even more on it. And I would really like to go back again if they get to do that. I usually don't like to go to another place twice. So I've been somewhere else first, but this is pretty special. And we went in August, and it was absolutely spectacular days. Every day was perfect, and every day I told the guy, Andrew, our guide, and he's an American, I said, every day was worth the trip. You hit a home run on every single day. It was so cool. And even down that Village of 8, I've got pictures on this. I just didn't have time to do everything. But one of the local farmers there, he can't speak English, but he invites the visitors into his house. There's cows all in the front yard. His whole front yard smells like manure and cow urine. But we go in his house, and they do the best they can. They serve the hot tea, and ladies, if you had guests from another country, you're gonna make your special dessert. They had wrapped candy, just little candies that were wrapped. That's all they could do. And I looked on one of the tables, the end tables at the couch, and it was a picture frame of this girl who was a model, and it came with the frame. Man, it's sitting up there. But they were so sweet to us, and we couldn't understand a word, but you communicate through being nice neighbors, and so that was pretty cool. And so I think he's the one that drove the tractor up there, and so we gave him a nice stipend for doing all that. So it makes it worth his day, hopefully.
Or any university activity or interest in being a part of uncovering?
From the United States?
Well,
or
not
over
just
there?
the U.S., but over there.
Yeah, I don't know. Because here's the deal, to get all that equipment, I mean, it's hard to get over there with your suitcase, much less radar and digging equipment. I don't know how Ron did it. hauling all that stuff. And I mean, it drove us nuts just with should I take 2 suitcases? And so it's hard. These trips are hard. They are tough. But it was, the whole trip, I think, was 9 days. I did it right before school. We went back to school a couple of August ago. I believe it was a total of 9 days. And it takes a long time to drive there from the airport, and we're arriving, and, you know, a Turkish guy's picking us up. We don't know. Where's he going to take us, I wonder? We're just hoping it's to Andrew here. We hope, and you're just worried about that the whole time. And but Gerald, you know, they don't want to fool with that, of course, naturally over there. So I don't worry too much. So I have loved being with you guys. Y'all were a great class to have, and I will invite myself back for some of the other trips that I've been on, because the one to Saudi is pretty crazy. But I think we went to the real Mount Sinai, the place where the Red Sea was crossed, and there's a split boulder in the middle of the wilderness. You know, when Moses spoke to the rock, you're not going to believe it. It's what got me over there. It's the sight that made me go, and I'll show that to you hopefully sometime. So y'all have a great rest of the evening. Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.